Welcome back to the Stockwell-Eldridge Show. I'm Jason Stockwell with RE/MAX Results.
Don Eldridge, RE/MAX Results.
And we have Bob Wilkerson here with Finance of America, a Blackstone company. And we have Chelsea Sonderland here with RE/MAX Results, Team Stockwell. And we have Dario Anselmo here. And I apologize, I missed the first segment, so I'm late. So I'm here as well, Jason Stockwell. So, and we're going to get right into it. So the Patriot, as you guys know, if you listen to the Patriot during the week, very political, has a lot of guests that talk, or hosts that talk a lot of politics and things like that, typically on the Republican side or conservative side, whatever you want to call it. Dario, you're running for House in District 49A.
Correct.
On the Republican ticket.
Correct, yeah.
Correct?
I was an endorsed Republican, and I actually ran 2 years ago as a Republican again, too. It's tough because the guy I run against used to be a Republican, and now he's a Democrat, so there's a little flip-flopping on the other side of the district, yeah.
That's not confusing at all.
This makes it tough.
He's been an independent. He's been a pretend doctor. He's been all kinds of things, so he's an interesting character.
So you're running on the Republican ticket. Now, in the Twin Cities, Minnesota, as you look at the history of Minnesota, we have kind of made a name for ourselves on elections as being a little bit different in many ways.
We're outliers, yeah.
Yes, Jesse Ventura. We've got, who's the guy?
Comedian Al Franken.
Al Franken.
Wrestler Jesse Ventura.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing is we typically lean left, right, as far as politics, right?
I'm from northern Minnesota originally. It's a very blue, Democratic area up there, and populist too. I think that's how we get some of the characters we end up with. It's a very populist state.
Oh yes, I agree. So, a question I have then is, how? This may be a big question, but how does a Republican go out with all of the negative? Conservatives and Republicans have so much negative PR coming at them all the time from everybody. It seems like how do you go out there and show that it's not the evil,
right,
dirty, only care about money, that sort of thing, and the poor can just do whatever, and we can just get rid of it. I mean, that's kind of the perception,
Right. How do we show the sort of the heart and soul of Republicans?
Yeah, like they don't. People think Republicans don't have them, right? I mean, that's the thing.
And doing that. And earlier we talked about some of the issues I've been involved in with education, which is a big issue for a lot of people, and then helping people in our community and doing those things. And so that is the Republicans. You need to show that, and it's a little bit tough now with that edgier sort of republicanism that's out there, and the Democrats are like that too. I mean, Bernie Sanders doesn't seem like the happiest guy in the world either. So it's
or Hillary Clinton,
yeah. It's a lot. There's a lot that's out there, and so I'm trying to show the reasonable Republican side. And Edina, which some people go, isn't that automatically Republican?
That's what you would think. The wealthy Republican, right? That's all wealthy people,
right? And it's not. And you walk around that district, and I did that, 16 precincts, 50,000 people. And you see Edina, and you see homes that need a lot of paint. You see you see a different side to Edina than just the stereotype when you drive by certain neighborhoods like Country Club or in Interlaken. So it's a diverse community, and we're trying to find a way to make Edina work for everyday Edinans, just like the state of Minnesota. And that's what Republicans are about. They really do want to make sure all segments are in a very socially and economically mobile society, and that's what I want to show.
So a couple questions I have then is, there's all kinds of things that the minimum wage issue, topics that people are talking about all the time now, and I don't know how does that go down to the House level at the state, or is that something that is only we're hearing from the big Bernies and Hillarys and Trumps and Cruzes?
We like to think of it as going up to the House, so we're always looking at
up to the House. I'm sorry about that.
Well,
up to the House,
and because of and their national issues are they actually starts in cities. So I'm in Minneapolis with my business interests, and I used to own the Fine Line Music Cafe for 20 years, and before that I was in a high tech business, and I'm also in commercial real estate. So I see economic issues all the time, and it starts in big cities, and then it goes to the State House. It may also go on at the Capitol, and minimum wage is definitely a real issue when you're employing people, paying the minimum wage or more. In our case, we pay them more money a lot of times and tips. So we've dealt with that, the working family agenda, which is the paid lead. So, I'm uniquely, I guess, plugged into that. Not everyone at the State House is sort of plugged into that. Usually they're lawyers and they're activists and they're not people that are on the business side of things.
So what is it like? Is it something where, I've heard both sides of the minimum wage, like get rid of it completely or go up to, $15-20 an hour. I don't, whatever it is. I mean,
Right.
And I think I'm reading articles online. I'm online a lot, and I look at stuff, and I see data that comes out, and you see one thing. Well, Seattle passes a minimum wage of $15 an hour, but now people don't want to work as much because they're making too much money, and then they may not qualify for certain benefits from the
Programs, correct?
from the state.
Yeah.
So.
And you push it to wage inflation. It pushes a lot of things up, and they usually
Our businesses
pick off.
are closing. Some of them
Yeah.
may have not been able to compete. I mean, how does it?
And it's recently talked about in Minneapolis. There was both an article about some restaurants that were shutting down. And in fact, they were talking about it on NPR, which is not a right-leaning radio show. And they talked about all these restaurants, again, something that we deal with because the costs keep going up, and it's just one factor. But it eventually catches up, and it's regulations. But your wages are a big thing. Every dollar for our minimum wage increase back when I was in the business typically translated to about $25,000. So you imagine someone taking $25,000 out of your bottom line, and do that every dollar. So crank it up now,
In a
950 to
restaurant or
15. It's huge.
in a restaurant
Yeah.
business you're talking about?
Correct.
Or-
Yeah. Any
and that
big
always
service
is tight
business.
anyway. Those margins are so
Right.
tight anyway on that, and you have to be so innovative. And people, consumers like us, go eat in at different places all the time. And
Right. It makes it tough, and you're employing people that are paying taxes, that are spending money. So it's a real important echo cycle. Again, unless you're in a business and get a paycheck or write a paycheck, you don't really get it. And that's why I want to go to St. Paul, is to actually be one of those people who's signing the check, not just cashing it. And both sides are important, but you need to really get that and understand that. And there are solutions, and the Republicans need to talk about them. Earned income tax credits are ways to deal with people that are in the lower economic strata, and how they can, as they're working and earning, they can actually get rebates back from the government. There are ways to deal with that. You just don't have to do minimum wage. A lot of people that are earning a minimum wage are in families where they're already making a lot of money. So you don't really want to help them. It's the working poor that you're trying to help, and that Republicans want to help, and there is a way to do it.
yeah, and I've also heard on the flip side, so we're really harping on minimum wage here, folks, on the Stockwell Eldridge Show. But when I started out working, I delivered papers as a teenager. I think it was 12 or 13. And then I corny tasseled in the summer in the fields, and they paid minimum wage. And then I went to work at a fast food restaurant doing dishes, and that was minimum wage. If that was $15 an hour, there's no way. I know the owner of the restaurant. He could have never hired me. He would have never been able to hire me. It would have been 4 times what I was actually making, and that was years ago. But that affects the entry level. Where you learn the working, the ethics of work, right? Or the work ethic as a
It's important,
teenager.
and you're seeing technology accelerate people getting away from service jobs because it's getting too expensive. So that's why you can just order your food on an iPad and go that way. So yeah, the less you make, the incentive for someone to be working and making the wage work, it's not going to work. And then you're going to have people not employed at all. So it really doesn't work very well. And so I believe, and I think Republicans believe, I'll quote Paul Wellstone, a populist, is we all do better when we all do better. And that's what we need to do. And Republicans, I think, get that more. They just get a bad rap for it for whatever reason. It doesn't make sense. But we want people to be making money, be in the system, be stakeholders.
Well, and I think, Jason, that's such an interesting point that you make, because as someone in the millennial, generation, I think a lot of us are typecast as being liberals, and I've always been the outcast in my age group because I'm very conservative. And I think my point has always been, I started working when I was 14 years old. Did I deserve to make as much as an adult supporting their family? Absolutely not. I was just trying to put gas in my car so I could go hang out with my friends on the weekends and after school, so that I could drive to school in the morning and pay for my parking permit at high school, you know what I mean? So I think you have to think about all steps of life, and yes, somebody supporting their family definitely deserves to make, or hopefully deserves to make, more than minimum wage. But I think that's each person's responsibility to work toward getting a job that can support them.
Yeah.
And the great
and it
thing
could be
is,
a stepping stone.
and there's programs out there. We've had people on the show before where they help give support in housing and education and help with childcare so that people can better their situation and get those better jobs. There's things out there for that. But just saying, let's raise minimum wage, let's just pay everybody more, that raises everything. That raises the cost of living. I mean, it all trickles down. And I think a lot of people just think, oh, if everybody gets paid more, we'll all be better off. And it's a lot more than that.
That's a good point, Chelsea. And Dario, I have a lot of questions about a lot of stuff. So it goes to millennials. Why are they typically leaning left? I would ask that for sure. And this is maybe in the next segment, we'll dive into this stuff. And then why are so many people, I read an article, why are so many people that have a significant amount of wealth leaving Minnesota and getting out of the state? And how does that affect us overall? I've heard another study that said that tons of people are coming into Minnesota, so it doesn't matter. And how also do you and Ron, or is that your main opponent is Ron Earhart?
He was just endorsed by the Democratic Party again.
How do you guys differ, like on the minimum wage, for example?
Right. Okay. Well, and I'll take them from the top there, the millennial issue, and I think that there are sort of those sort of hidden sort of Republicans and conservatives that are out there. And yeah, it's kind of tough because you're sort of shamed down if you're young and you're conservative, and that's too bad. And it's on college campuses, it's your white privilege. I mean, it's stuff our kids hear actually in the public schools. It's just kind of amazing. They come home and they're just sort of like, what's wrong with us, sort of thing. But and I think those issues, the Republicans have made it tougher at times too. And if you want to call it the social issues, and I think millennials, just for them, it's a neutral. And I say you can have your conservative values. In my case, I just don't believe in legislating them. So I don't personally believe in it, and it's really not a good vote getter either. So that's a big thing. And I think people are starting to see that. I think you take a millennial, you take them from a Sanders Democrat, you turn them into a Reagan Republican when they start earning a paycheck. And they see how much of that they keep.
I see that all the time.
Right. You just got another convert.
When we help home buyers, I see them kind of or have children. It kind of takes a shift. But we'll be back with more with Dario. I'm Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Don Eldridge, Remax Results.
And I promise I'll let others ask questions for Dario. We'll be back.